Hey everyone, Box Gods here, and welcome back to our Monsoon Modular Reservoir Systems How-To video series. This is video number 4 in that series, and today we're going to be covering adding a pump to your tube reservoir. I'm going to kind of go a little bit faster on this one since we've covered most of this stuff in previous videos. I suggest you watch our overview video to get a good idea of the different components that are available. The second video in this series covered basic assembly. The last video in the series, I believe, covered using couplers, so by this point you should have a fairly good understanding of how the system works. The difference in this particular video is going to be adding a pump to one end of your reservoir. I don't know if I have any of them assembled here. Dun, dun, dun. I don't. Oh well, you'll see when we get to the end of the video how it looks. We're going to be assuming a vertical installation, so you can really only add a pump to the bottom of that. If you were doing a horizontal assembly or installing a horizontal reservoir into your system, you could actually add a pump to either end. But again, for today's video, we're just going to be adding a pump to one end. So basically, I got my tension rods already attached to my end cap. You can select whichever end cap you want. For the purposes of this video, we're using a basic end cap with 3 in-facing ports and no side-facing ports. Obviously, you could use side-facing ports or a fill drain port, any of the other parts. Again, watch the video, the first video in the series, which is the overview, and it will give you an idea of your options. Alright, first step. We've got an O-ring that we've washed off in the sink and made sure it's clean. Stainless steel screws that come with the pump. I've got my, I guess that's 250 millimeter tube. No extra charge for the dust. Got my O-ring down inside there. Go insert the tube. Push it down until you hear that little click. Make sure the O-ring channel again is clear and the O-ring's clean. I'm going to go over this one more time. Probably 95% of the customers I have contact me with a leaking issue can be traced back to a cat hair or an eyelash, a piece of potato chip, some kind of foreign debris that is either on the O-ring or in the channel. And then when you install everything together, that foreign debris causes a bridging situation where no matter how tight you tighten the screws, how much you tighten the screws, water will slowly wick through that little bridge. Perpetually tightening and tightening on the screws is just going to run the risk of stripping them out. So as a best practice, you need to work in a very clean environment. Again, this isn't really the optimal environment because I'm shooting this video in our shop, which has lots of machines that generate dust and metal shavings and all kinds of things. If you find yourself in that situation where you've got that slow leak and one little cursory tightening of the screws hasn't resolved it, you're just going to have to suck it up, take the thing apart, find out what was wrong, what's in there, clean the O-rings off. Maybe give them a visual inspection, make sure they don't have any damage on the O-rings. Again, 9 times out of 10, that's where the problem is. Alright, this assembles pretty much just like I said in the other videos. As I'm walking that around, I'm pushing the little ends of the tension rods so it's all lined up. I'm going to give it a push to make sure that the tube is seated. Probably also going to just throw down a little rag here so I don't scratch at my parts. Again, this goes together pretty much just like the others, with the difference being that we've got the tube reservoir. You could use the colored screws that come with your tension rods, but we include the plain stainless ones because if they're going to be covered up inside the pump, why waste the beautiful screws? It's kind of my feeling anyway. Again, I'm just tightening these a little bit until I feel it grab. Got my finger on the side right here, so I feel when the end starts to move a little bit, like right there. I'm going to go to the opposite one, kind of do the same thing, right till I feel it start to move, like right there. Same drill as before. You don't want to tighten them down all the way with this one and all the way with this one because you'll cause uneven pressure on the seal. You want to do just like you would with the wheel of a car. Tighten this one a little bit, tighten the one opposite a little bit, tighten this one a little bit, kind of in that star pattern, and keep just tighten a turn or two and then go over to the other one, work your way around. Right now I'm just getting them down to where they're starting to just barely start to grip. Oops. There's a good lesson, boys and girls. I got my mounts on wrong. I got my holes lined up wrong. So I have to take this back off. I even got the mounts on and I still managed to get it wrong. Just one of those things you have to pay attention to. I'm going to take the screws out because it's almost impossible to do it with the screws in there. Get my O-ring back in. Almost did it again. Just find out which one of the tension rods is keeping it from pushing down. Right there, we got it. Let's try again. I'll probably actually stop the video here and come back when we're done. Okay, we've got the screws for the most part cinched down pretty good. Take the, by the way, the parts come with hex wrenches. You'll see me using a universal driver like this. You don't have to have it if you're just doing one or two parts, but we do a lot of these, so I prefer using these. But again, one little tip I've covered in previous videos: do not use the wrenches like this with the long arm out because you get too much leverage. It just makes it easier to strip the screws out if you're not paying attention. I tell people use the short end, it's less leverage, and then let your thumb sort of be the guide. If you feel pain, stop. These are already practically good. I'm just going to go through one more time. Cursory make sure pass. Got a scratch on it. If you have the wrench flats that are already recessed into the cavities, I've done everything I can with the design to keep you from having a problem with stripping screws. Both the screws and the tension rods are made out of stainless steel. There's lots of threads. I've got the wrench flats designed so that once they disappear, you know everything is tightened up enough. If you do manage to strip out screws, it happens. I mean, I've done probably built 150 of these by now, and I've still managed to pop a few threads once and maybe twice. Usually when my wife's talking to me, I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. If you do strip out a screw, I've made sure that all the resellers that carry the reservoir parts also carry the little screws in separate packages. You know, it happens. Just order a pack of screws and be careful next time. Clean it up a little bit. All these parts have been assembled and taken apart and reassembled probably 50 times, so they're getting a little bit worse for wear. I covered installing the pump in, I believe it's video number 7, which is the standalone pump. So if you've never installed a D5 into a pump top before, just go ahead and check out that video. It'll explain how to do it. It's pretty simple. That's not what this video is about. So watch that one if you need to know how to install a pump. I'm twisting this the wrong way until it clicks so that I know I'm not cross-threaded. That feels good. Alright, what do we need? Oh, lights. Some lights would be nice. I guess I took this away too soon. Since I've got a pump on this end and it's going to have wires coming off of it, I'm going to go ahead and use my wires on that end. Basically just, I don't know if it shows, but there is a little cavity on the end of the twin bulb. We put it in that cavity. And then kind of force it down in there. Actually, I should have left that other bracket loose. If you're having a hard time, just loosen the other bracket. It's also a little harder with the camera in your face. And I'm not going to force it because I don't want to break it, so I'm just going to go and loosen this one real quick. It would have been better if this one was the one that was tightened down and this was the one I was loosening, but oh well. Alright, let's try again. Yeah, that got it. Go ahead and tighten these down like normal. Hopefully we'll fast forward for this part. And there you have it. Man, this is the most dust-ridden environment. Sorry about that. One thing I didn't cover was these are load spreaders. I've covered it in other videos, but basically these will be on the back side of whatever panel you're mounting to. So this would be on the inside of the case, or the inside of the panel, and the back side of the panel would be this load spreader. And basically what it does is, just like the name implies, it spreads the load out a little bit so that you don't have all the weight of the pump just centralized in one little point loaded area. A secondary feature of them is if you get your mounting holes slightly off, you can take a drill bit and just kind of hog out the hole a little bit. When this cap goes on, it'll cover that up and nobody will ever know. Basically, that is how you add a pump to your reservoir. Again, if you were doing a horizontal mount, you could put a pump on the other end. If you wanted a dual pump situation, you'd probably use a coupler in here to get some kind of outbound ports, or excuse me, inbound ports. If you're mounting the reservoir in your case vertically, you can really only have a pump on the bottom because the top pump would just starve for water. We've got lights on it, basically everything you'd want in a beautiful, sexy package. If you have any questions whatsoever on which components you should pick, any assembly questions, anything like that, you can use this email on your screen. I usually will answer within 24 hours and I'm happy to help. If you just want to show off some pictures of your build, you can also use that same email address. Basically that covers how to use a pump. Thanks for watching.